welcome to the KeithAndrewNetWork, a very special interview with Ms. Kimilee. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to be a guest on my talk show.
Okay, thanks for having me.
No, the honor's all mine. For people who want to know what my talk show is about, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. And you should prove to them you can still amount to something. So hashtag break the labels. So that being said, first question I was going to ask you was, who influenced you to become an actress?
Okay. I would say my mother probably first, and my dad, because they both met doing theater locally here in South Carolina, where I am right now. So they were definitely my first influence. And my mother was a dance teacher for more than 50 years here, and so that also contributed to my influence.
Now, how many years have you been an actor?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I can tell you that, because then you'd know about how old I am. But how about I've been an actor since I was probably 9 years old, because I started doing children's theater back then. It was children's theater. So professionally, though, more like, 25 years. About 25 years professionally.
Have you ever worked with any actors with learning disabilities and disabilities?
Oh. Okay, well, I know one of my friends, and I'm actually going to go do a concert tour with him in China in March, has dyslexia. Another very close person to me, a young person, has dyslexia, and she goes to a special school for that. So that's definitely a learning disability. And my friend, who I won't tell you his name, but who is a phantom, he's done very, very well for himself. He's quite famous, actually, in Asia. He can't really read music because it's so difficult with dyslexia, but he's just so smart and he has a great ear for music. So that's one person that comes to mind right away, who had a learning disability. I'm sure I have. And I have Tourette's syndrome. I had a tenor friend of mine who I sang with in graduate school who had Tourette's. So I know that that's a disability as well. Right now, I'm working with a lot of people with disabilities, as you might know. One of my students just graduated high school, and he is a freshman at the University of South Carolina, and he has autism, and he's done quite well. I'm very, very proud of him. In fact, he just landed the role of the Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night. If you know anything about that play, the main character has autism. It won the Tony and the Pulitzer Prize. It's a fantastic play. I really, if anybody's into theater, and especially you, Keith, you should check that play out if you haven't learned about it before. But he's doing that role. And then my own son, who's only 4.5, who we may meet in a few minutes, has autism. So, and then many of my students have various disabilities and challenges. So I've worked with a lot of kids that have different challenges.
Well, with that being said, what influenced you to work with people with special needs? I know you mentioned your son has a disability, but did he influence you to work with people with special needs, or did you work with special needs before you had your son?
Well, I would say he definitely influenced me to do that, but some of these kids just came to me and there was no reason not to work with them. I mean, it doesn't matter to me if someone has a disability. If they want to come and work on their voice, on their dance, on their, in theater, I'm all for it. So I've always worked with people with disabilities. I didn't necessarily seek that out, but now I am a little bit more because of my own personal attachment. And in fact, I'm offering a new dance class. If you know of anyone in upstate South Carolina, we're going to do a special needs dance class here. Because there's a lot of research to show that theater and dance, movement, music really can help people with of all types of abilities or disabilities, but especially those with disabilities.
No, absolutely. Now, the next question I was going to ask you, if what really caught my interest is that you were Miss South Carolina in 1989, the year after I was born.
That's the year you were born?
No, I was born 88, so a year after.
Okay, the year after you were born, I see. Wow, okay, well, so you're very young. You could almost be my child. That's my dog, by the way, barking in the background, and we've had a rough morning with her. She had to go to the emergency vet. Yes, I was Miss South Carolina. That helped me win a lot of scholarship money so that I could go to graduate school. And I also got to do a lot of appearances, a lot of performances. So it really helped me gain experience and also to do interviews as well, which I've done many of as a part of my career. So there's a lot of good in that program. The Miss South Carolina that I did was the Miss South Carolina that goes to Miss America, which is, of course, the original competition. There are lots of copies out there that are good programs, but that's the original competition. And they have, of course, a talent competition, which was something I was really interested in doing.
Now, who influenced you to become like a model or a spokesperson?
Well, I wouldn't really say that I'm a model, although I have done a lot of print work. In fact, yesterday I just went here in Greenville to a commercial audition for a mattress, a very famous mattress company. And it's always funny to me when I go on auditions here because they're very few and far between as compared to New York. I lived in New York for 25 years, and I would go on 3 or 4 commercial auditions a week and 3 or 4 theater auditions. So I wouldn't say I was a model, but it's something that many, many actors do to help them pay the bills as they do commercials and print work. So print work is a little bit different from modeling. I have not really done any runway modeling except for maybe when I was in South Carolina and I was doing it for charity. So I would say I'm more of a print model. So you might see me like advertising for baby cereal or dog food or something like that. So I wouldn't be modeling clothes probably. Maybe different, not like I don't know. Cindy Crawford was a very famous supermodel at the time. She's my age, or maybe she's even older than I am. But back in the day, she was like the most famous model. I guess Heidi Klum now is quite famous. So.
No,
I'm only 5'4". I'm only 5'4", so models tend to be a little taller than I am.
The reason I asked is because you mentioned you were Ms. South Carolina, so I don't know if that was like a swimsuit thing or just like a model thing.
No, like I mentioned, Miss America program is not a modeling contest at all by any means. And in fact, there is no more swimsuit competition. That was pretty famously reported this year. There's no more swimsuit competition. I did do swimsuit competition, and I was quite, trim. I'm going to find you a picture and just put it up here so you can see. So it was part of it, but they were more interested in how fit you could be, so you could be healthy and fit, and it wasn't really about necessarily, yes, you wanted to look good, but it wasn't about this. Now, this is a picture of me with Miss Texas. I'm the one in the all-purple swimsuit. Let's see if I can get it. See, the one that is the all-purple swimsuit. She's got on purple and turquoise. You see that?
That's nice.
So that was on the beach at Atlantic City, that picture. So the Miss America takes place in Atlantic City. For a few years, they did it in Las Vegas, but it's always been, except for those few years, in Atlantic City, which is not far from you. You're in Manhattan, I understand, correct?
Near West Point.
Oh, really? Okay. I had some very good friends who lived there. I lived until just recently. I just sold my apartment that was at Lincoln Center, so I'm very sad about that. But I also just bought this house, which I will just show you just a little bit because we're not moved in yet. So I've never had stairs since I was a little kid. Front door. We are getting ready for the holidays, so you can see some of the things. This is where we're doing the interview is my voice studio. So there's a piano back here. There's this beautiful old organ. I haven't finished putting things together, but there's one of my phantom posters. That was in Toronto where I worked with Paul Stanley from Kiss. Let's see.
Do you still keep in contact with them?
Not really. I did when I lived in LA a little bit. I remember we did go to lunch, and I followed him on Twitter, but I don't really, not really. But he's a great guy. He was very serious about what he was doing. He worked really hard. He ate really well. He never went out and partied. So I'm kind of destroying his rock star image because certainly he's a rock star. But he really took care of himself, and he took it seriously, and he really respected what we did too. We actors who that's our focus, and we're not as famous as he, but we really focused on the craft of acting and singing.
If you can put a good word in for me about having him on the show, I'd love that.
Right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could send a tweet to him and tell him about you, so I'll do that.
I'll
do that on Twitter. You'll have to follow me on Twitter now if you're not, because I'll do that.
Well, now that we're working together, absolutely. Now, the next question I was going to ask you, I saw that you are a producer. What were some of your favorite things you ever produced, and what do you have that you're working on, that you're producing now?
Okay, good question. Well, I produced a new show that is actually having another new reading in New York in February, I believe, called Miracolo, which is the Italian word for miracle. And actually, you can find that, Miracolo the musical, you can find that on Twitter and also on Facebook. We have a page. So you can find out information about that. So that is a new show, brand new music, beautiful music. We actually have some nice recordings on SoundCloud as well. So that was my first big producing venture for a book musical. I've produced a lot of Broadway reviews. So what I do is I get a lot of my, not a lot of, but several of my Broadway star friends, and we've done Miami, we've done something of course, in New York, in Manhattan, and we've done things in various places, North Carolina, So I get like 2 or 3 Broadway stars and myself, and we go and we put on a review. So we do kind of our biggest hits. So some of the songs that we've kind of helped make famous, like of course Phantom for me, and some of the very, very well-known show tunes. And people seem to really enjoy that. So I produced a good many of those reviews. I produced a review kind of like that, but very much costumed at a university nearby. I taught the last 3 years at Anderson University. I also taught at Converse College, those both are in South Carolina. So those are the things I've been producing. I've got a concert coming up in Florida, Fort Lauderdale, on December 15th. If anybody's out there listening in Fort Lauderdale, it's at the Village. So check that out. You can also, I have a Facebook page as well. I know you're following my Instagrams and my Twitter, but I also have a Facebook page that has a lot of stuff on it, and of course my website, which is KimileeBryant.com. So that concert's December 15th, and December 19th I have a student recital here in South Carolina. So those are coming up. And I think I mentioned to you that I'm going to China in March.
No, absolutely. I do have one more question for you, but we're going to take a commercial break, and actually when we come back, 2 more questions for you, and then I'll pass it over to you.
Vanessa Lina. Asian Lalo. Hi, Cynthia Batts today. I'm Sonia Fisher. This is Shane Smith. My name is Alexandra Bowie. My name is Amelia Clover. Hi, I'm Amy Linden.
Hi, I'm Amy Nicole Brown.
It's Meg Green.
Hi, my name is Asata Caldwell. Hi, everybody, I'm Brooke Francie.
Hi, I'm Bryn Bird.
Hi, I'm Casey Dunn.
Hi, it's KeithAndrewNetWork.
Hi, I'm Christina Frieza.
I'm Cindy Hogan. I'm Courtney Sinella.
Hi, I'm Daisy.
My name is Deborah Jane East.
Hi, my name is Danielle Marcia.
Hey everyone, I'm Victoria London.
Hi, I'm Heather Crona.
Hi, I'm Heather Callahan Stevens.
Hi, I'm J. Nicole Ralph.
My name is Jamie Patrell.
My name is Turi.
My name is Julia Brankovic.
Kathleen Wills.
Kimberly Amano.
Hi, my name is Laura Putton.
Hi, I'm Laura Chapanis.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Damas.
This is Michelle Mupo, a.k.a. Fuchsia.
I'm Rachel Olivera.
Hi, my name is Sarah Joy Mount.
Hi, I'm Susan Winder.
Hi, everyone. This is Venus Leone.
Hi, I'm Showtana.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Herrera, and I was just on the Keith Andrew Network. It was tons of fun. We used up all our time and then some. I really recommend this show, and try to be a guest on Keith's show. It was super fun.
Back to the show. This is part 2 of the Keith Andrew Network segment. I'm your host, Keith Andrew. Along here is Miss Kimilee. Now, we left off where I was going to ask you about the 2 hard-hitting questions I'm going to ask you. Then I'm going to pass the show over to you. The first one is, you mentioned you were a voiceover teacher and coach. Have you ever worked with and taught any famous voiceover actors and actors' kids?
Okay. Well, voiceover is a different thing than voice. So I'll just explain that first, because I have done voiceovers. I'm not a voiceover coach. I'm a voice coach. Voice. So I teach voice lessons. Really quickly, I'm going to show you. This is my little dog Gypsy. She has the cone on because she had an eye problem. All right. So I'm just going to show you my card here. So voice lessons are different from voice over. So this is my little card, my information. A voiceover is something you might hear on the radio or a commercial, and you hear the voiceover in the background saying, these are not quite... so you hear some information. Maybe they're reading about... something on, like if you've bought something and they're giving you some information about it so you'll see a picture and you'll see some people doing something, I don't know, out on playing in the playground, and then you'll hear this voiceover talking about the allergy pill that they took so that they could go outside. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's a voiceover, right? And so they're giving you some information. So what I teach is singing, okay? So I'll just show you right here's my piano, and so you might come into me, and we would do some, we would warm up, we would stretch, we would make sure that we're all loose. Usually is about an hour lesson. I have somebody coming in soon. And then we would do all the exercises. We might do then we would sing through, so we would do about 20 minutes to half hour of that technique, and then we would, and you're chuckling, but there's a real technique to it to be able to sing the way that I sing and others sing. And then we would work on repertoire. So I'm like, with the repertoire, I would coach them perhaps on notes, maybe they're singing some wrong notes and some wrong rhythms. Sometimes I would, give them some ideas about their interpretation and their performance and their role, like studying the role, researching the character. So I do a lot of things like that. So that's mainly what I teach now on a daily basis. I also teach dance and I teach theater and acting technique. So.
No, the reason I was laughing is the dog. Every time he sung, the dog barked.
Oh, well, she really barks when I sing high. She really, it's a little, she'll actually sing. Let's see. I'm not terribly warmed up, but I'll see if you want to hear her. You'll hear her sort of sing. Let's see. Here too. Get the right light. Anyway, I hope that wasn't too long for YouTube. Okay, I'm sorry, Gypsy. All right.
That has to be the highlight of the interview.
Oh, good. Well, good. I'm glad I can make you smile. Yes. So,
but with that being said, I'm going to pass this show over to you. It's the last 11 minutes and counting. Was there anything you wanted to know? Anything you wanted to promote? This is your time.
Okay. Okay, yeah, because my appointment, I've just gotten a text that my appointment is here. Okay. I have a question for you, actually. I have a couple questions for you because in fact, I'm going to, as I ask this, I'm going to take you up to meet my son who is in therapy right now. He is 4.5. We were just, and I'm going to send you this link so maybe you can share it with your listeners about children, and especially in South Carolina, who are really looking for help for the therapy because they're not all getting it, so that they can lead lives like you are leading. And like you said, they can really do things. They can do anything. So his name is Aiden. He's 4.5. Of course I'm the mom, so I'm going to say he's a beautiful child, but everybody tells me so. I'm going to, let's make sure he's okay. Hey buddy, can you come say hi real quick? And then we've got to go right back to Miss Summer. Okay, Aiden, look, can you say hi? Say hi.
How you doing, buddy?
Okay. Say hi, Keith.
Hey.
Okay, good. All right, that's Aiden. All right. Oh, they were singing. Okay, well, that's what we definitely want to help him learn how to do that. He has choir practice tonight, so.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
So I was curious, actually, about your disability, and I think everybody has something. To be honest, I certainly have had struggles with certain things. Nothing that's been diagnosed, other than I have a thyroid condition. That's my main thing that I just have to take some medication every day for that. But I think that everybody struggles with something, depression, maybe it's a physical disability or a learning disability, and some things that perhaps you overcome or some things that are just always going to be there. So I was curious about yours and how you decided to do what you're doing now.
All right, make a long story short, I got tired of using my disability as a crutch, feeling bad about myself, feeling down, and I decided I'm going to show you a weakness can also be a strength. And I just got tired of feeling bad for myself, and give me the highlights. Just I want to show people I can still amount to something, even though I'm having a learning disability. And I'm able to turn it's like my expressing, my saying, turn myself and show you labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. And you should prove to them you can still amount to something. So hashtag break the labels. With that being said, is that I want to show you that, yes, that's because I read and learn at a 5th grade level. I'm on the spectrum of being retarded, and I can't hold down a job or whatever the excuse is, and I can't read. But I'm showing you with all those defects, there's also positives to it.
Wow, that's terrific. I apologize for the dog. One of my son's aides was arriving and knocked on the door. So I look forward to actually watching our playback of our video and sharing it if I can. So let me know how to do that. And, I know a lot of people who'd be interested in that.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to part 2. Now, before you go, I have 2 questions for you wrapping up. How can people follow you on social media? Are you on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook? And when I first approached you to be a guest in my talk show, what was your first reaction? And would you recommend it to others after being a guest?
Okay, so it's kind of a funny story, and I'm going to let his aide come in so that Gypsy quits barking. Hold on one second. So it's kind of a funny story because when you first contacted me, I just got a phone call, and I wondered, first of all, how did you get my phone number? And I was in New York, which, I'm not living there at the moment, and I was there auditioning, or I had a callback for a big Broadway revival, which I'll tell you about later. We never know. Anyway, so I thought when I got your phone call that you were going to try to sell me health insurance because I've been getting all these phone calls from that area code, which is actually the same area, mine same because it's New York, right? And I still use that same phone number, the cell phone. So that was my first reaction, and I didn't know what you were doing. I thought you were selling health insurance, and I thought I just didn't have time. I was really busy. I just moved. I just had to go to New York for this audition, and we had a big recital. We had Halloween, and I thought, who is this guy trying to sell me health insurance? And then I saw something. You sent me something, and I thought, oh, of course I will do that. Of course I would do that. So anything that I can do to help raise awareness for people with special needs, especially those on the spectrum, which is what, is that we've been faced with. Anybody. I mean, I worked for many, many years. I did things for Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS, and that was not just for AIDS related illnesses. Those were just health issues across the board for anybody in the theater or anybody that's connected to the theater. So I did many, many years of that charity work. And, it's just part of, and part of being in the Miss America program, too, is doing charity work. And so I've always been involved in that sort of thing. And like you said, people with disabilities really have so much other to offer that when I see my son doing certain things and I think, what is he doing? That he's doing that all wrong. Well, he's not really doing it all wrong. He's doing it differently. And when you really stop and look, and I think about it, I wouldn't have thought of doing it that way. So that's how we got so many wonderful things in our world. That's why we have some of the most brilliant music that's ever been written. That's why we have technology. That's why we have unbelievable, beautiful visual art, because of people who have what we call disabilities. They focused their brains in another way that we who are not necessarily, or who are typical, we're considered typically developing, we're too scattered to think about one thing. I know I am too scattered to be able to think about one. Now, I did, of course, focus on theater and dance and acting. But I'm also more scattered about other things. So I think that's amazing. I think people with disabilities are amazing. So I'm grateful to have them in my life, and I will certainly do all I can to get the word out and to let people know they just think differently,
Yeah.
And we need to,
No, I agree. Now, how can people follow you? And
oh, good question. And then I've got the treat guys here. So my regular Instagram is at Kimilee_Bryant. So again, here's how you spell my name. Let's see if I can get it in the camera. There's, if you can see it there, Kimilee Bryant. So at, and then lowercase, Kimilee_Bryant is my regular Instagram. I very often, if you're a Phantom fan, I very often post Phantom photos from the past that you might not see on other websites. And I do post a lot about special needs as well. I also have another Instagram and I think you're on there, at Purple Chanteuse. It's a new one that we're doing. That's going to be a cabaret here in Greenville. And then we have SC Rep, which is South Carolina Repertory Theater, which we are going to be doing outreach to the autistic community and those with disabilities. And we've already been doing a lot of outreach. Those are my Instagrams. It's a lot of Instagrams. I have a website, KimileeBryant.com. Let's see. It's right up here. KimileeBryant.com. And at Kimilee B on Twitter. And then on Facebook, it's Kimilee Bryant Voice Studio and Ruby Lee Productions. So, and I'm on Snapchat too.
A lot of people keep saying Snapchat. I don't really see the big interest in it.
Oh, Snapchat? Oh, I love Snapchat. The reason I like Snapchat is that, and I actually haven't done any stories today, but I like all of the filters. They're fun. They're really fun to do, and my son loves doing them. You see with the roses there. Let's see. Let's see, and there's some Thanksgiving ones, so there's one I did of myself in this little, let's see. So they're fun to do, and then you just share them and you follow your other people and it's like little, I used to be very much into scrapbooking. Have you ever heard of anybody doing that? So I used to be really into that, and now I have books and books and stacks. I've just moved, so I have books and books of scrapbooks. But this has sort of replaced my scrapbooking hobby.
All right. Well, I do have a couple questions for you off the air about wrapping up our interview segment. It was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest, and I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road.
Okay.